Hi everyone, today's workout we will be using a chair. You just need space to move, and then if you're looking to add a little bit more challenge today, you want to add something for upper body weight. So that might be wrist weights, maybe hand weights. I don't own any weights right now, so I'm using cans of coconut milk from my pantry. And then for our warm-up, we're going to start standing. So when you're ready, you want to stand in front of your chair. It should be towards the back end of your mat. So just be sure that you have space in front of you. Then start to just breathe in and out at your own pace, maybe closing your eyes to get a little bit more awareness of your own body. Maybe placing your hands on the sides of the ribs to help focus your air into the sides and back areas of the rib cage. And then getting some awareness of your lower abdominal area, your tailbone and sacrum area in the back. We'll move into some pelvic tilts. So I'm softening my knees a little bit to help my pelvis move here. As you breathe out, try tipping your pubic bone forward. And as you breathe in, try to find your neutral pelvis. So with your hands at the front of your lower abs, heels of the hands are on the front of your hip bones, fingertips are together on your pubic bone. And when you're in neutral, those hip bones should be directly above your pubic bone. Reaching the arms overhead, let's grab one wrist and take a big side bend. Think of going up and over a big, gigantic ball. There's a feeling of your torso lifting off of your legs to create a little bit more space in your hips. And then arms float out to the side. Let's add some rotation. So twisting one way, returning to the center, growing a little bit taller before twisting the other way. And then starting to slowly roll down. It's okay to bend your knees. It helps your back move a little bit better if it's feeling tense. When you're ready, slowly walk your hands out just enough that you're in kind of a downward dog position with those hips piked up. And most of your body weight in your feet as you go for a little walk, bending one knee and stretching the opposite heel towards the mat, alternate sides. Keep breathing, and once you're even on both sides, try to stretch both heels down towards the floor as much as you can. And moving up to your shoulders, see if you can shrug your shoulders up to your ears. Your body weight will shift forward a little bit and then slide your shoulders down your back away from your ears. And as you do that, be aware of your upper arm as well. Try to spiral your biceps forward a little bit and your triceps and elbows backward a little bit. It will help you stabilize your shoulders. And adding in a knee bend. So elbows straight, softly bring your knees bent towards the mat as low as you can, and then straighten those legs back out. Do that a few more times at your own pace. Each time you straighten your legs, think of pushing through your hands and lifting your hips and abdominals up to the sky. Adding a rotation there, so opposite arm reaches to opposite leg. Really push through the hand on the mat and think of turning your ribs towards that side wall, looking towards your knees. You still want to have most of your body weight in your legs here, so really shift those hips back and up as much as you can. Once you're even on both sides, walk your hands back towards your feet. Soften those knees and let's just hang here for a moment to release through the low back, through the backs of the legs. So if you're feeling a little tight, you can have your hands on your thighs, on your lower leg, on the mat. You can also grab your elbows like I'm doing. And then once you've found the position that feels best for you, just add a gentle swing side to side to help release the side body before rolling all the way up to standing. Arms reach out to the side and overhead before we dive back down. So think chin curling towards your chest as you roll down, allowing your knees to bend again if your legs still feel a little tight. And then walking the hands out to that downward dog position. Now lift your abdominals up to the sky so much that you start to shift your weight into your hands. Your low back will round, then your middle back, then your upper back, until your spine unrolls to neutral. You're in a plank. Then bend your knees, lift your hips back up into that downward dog. Take that at your own pace. You're really trying to move through your spine one bone at a time. Rounding the back side of your body up to the sky until it unfolds to that plank. And just check in on your breathing here. Are you still really moving your breath through your body at a pace that feels good to you? Just keep that breath moving. And then walking your hands back towards your feet. Again, you can bend your knees here if your back or your legs feel really tight today. And then let's find those weights. We're going to stand all the way up. So you're holding your weights in your hands if you want that extra challenge. And moving into some squats. So both knees bend. Focus on sending your butt as far back as you possibly can. And then drive your heels into the floor as you stand back up, trying to find that neutral pelvis that we focused on at the very beginning of class. For a little more challenge, you want to reach your arms out in front of you. If that ever hurts your back, they just went a little too far out, so bring your hands closer into your chest. Or keep your hands on your hips, that's also great. Let's hold that squat, moving into some small pulses, so just lifting your hips up and down 1 inch. Trying to keep as much weight in your heels as possible, but it's totally fine to keep all your toes on the floor. Now holding that squat, start alternating heel lifts. So 1 heel lifts at a time. If you'd like to add some arm work, it's a bicep curl. Elbows bend each time you lift your heel. It's more challenging to keep your arms up at shoulder height. If that's a little too much for your neck, keep your arms low down by your sides. So either way is going to work those biceps. Now for a little more challenge, can you lift both heels at the same time? Most challenging position here is those arms stretched out in front of you. And again, if that feels weird in your back, you want to bring your arms closer into your chest. Now, can you keep those heels off the mat? If the answer is no, that's okay. We're going to try to stand all the way up. Arms can lower down by your side. Embrace a little bit of wobble here. I'm wobbling too. We're trying to find our balance. Let's squat back down and then stand back up. So if you've got any ankle issues or just balance is feeling off today, you can absolutely keep those heels on the mat. Lifting the heels is going to add some challenge for your calves, those lower legs, but also really working on your stability. So your abdominals are going to help you balance. You want to feel activation through your inner thighs as well as your glutes. And then let's stand all the way up and lift one arm overhead and then the other arm overhead. So this is more challenging with those heels off the mat. Let's see if we can incorporate some rotation here. So as you lift your arm, rotate your ribs the opposite direction and try to reach that arm a little further back behind you. Think of looking in the direction that you're twisting. Can you grow a little bit taller through the top of the head? Draw the abdominals in a little bit deeper. And then lift both arms straight out in front of your chest. Bend the elbows and then open and close those elbows. And this will work the back side of your shoulder as well as your chest. Maybe you add those heel lifts that we did earlier, totally optional. And then lift both heels and hold. Now can you add that rotation again? So twisting the rib cage around the spine, thinking abdominals in as much as possible while still allowing yourself to breathe. So there should still be expansion into the sides and backs of the ribs. Tiny bit of expansion in the front of the ribs. Arms straighten out to the sides. Now try to squat back down and close those arms in front of you. We're going to hold the squat here, working the back side of the shoulder. Press the arms out to the side. Now they don't actually need to get behind your rib cage. You'll still work that back side of the shoulder. It's more about leaning your body forward, and if you'd like to add some heel lifts for some more challenge here, do that. Now can you hold your arms out to the side and pulse? Lower the arms 1 inch and lift the arms 1 inch. And for more challenge, both heels are off the mat as you hold this position. Feeling your belly button draw into the spine. And then slowly lower those heels if they're off the mat. Close your arms and stand all the way back up. Going back into your squat. Let's hold that squat and just focus on your shoulder blades here. They squeeze together on the back side of the body, and then they spread apart on the back side of your body. So elbows are as straight as possible, leaning forward, as much weight in your heels as possible here. Lots of space from your earlobe to your shoulder. And then finding that neutral position with the shoulder blades. Chest and back feel equally wide as you lift one arm up and one arm back. So this is a scissor of the arms. Check in with the front side of your rib cage. Close it and breathe into the back side of those ribs. Once you're even on both sides, both arms come front and then stand all the way up. Arms circle up and overhead. Let's go back to that dive forward that we did earlier. You can set your weights down on the floor, walk your hands out to your downward dog, and enjoy a nice release there. Maybe a little bend and stretch in the knees, reaching your heels for the floor. And then again, that rotation, reaching opposite arm to opposite knee and turning your ribs towards that leg. Once you're even on both sides, walk your hands a little further out and just set your knees down onto the mat. Find your hands under your shoulders and knees under your hips, and let's do that shoulder blade movement we were just doing standing. So we slide the shoulder blades towards the spine. Your chest should feel really wide when you do that, and then really slide the shoulder blades as far apart as possible. It almost feels like your chest is pulling up to the sky. Finding your neutral, keep your hips high, and let's do some tricep push-ups. So as you bend your elbows, point those elbows towards your feet. It's going to feel like you're diving into some shallow water. Try to keep a straight line from your head to your tailbone. Keep this going and keep breathing. Let's mobilize your ribs again with a thread the needle. So reaching one arm up to the sky, thread that arm down in front of your chest and rest your shoulder on the mat. So the arm on the mat will bend so that you can get all the way down to touch that shoulder to the mat. And this is great mobility for the thoracic spine, which is where your rib cage attaches. Sometimes that part gets really stiff. We'll do that on both sides. Be sure to keep moving your breath through your body here, taking it at your own pace. Once you've done even number on both sides, let's meet on the side of your body. So both knees are bent, one arm on the mat. And we'll start to just kind of sink into that shoulder that is supporting you on the mat. So you lower your ribs, lower your hips, feel the shoulder lift up towards your earlobe, and then really slide that shoulder down away from your earlobe. That's going to help activate those muscles under your armpit, surrounding your shoulder blade to really activate your shoulder muscles. Now once you've got that shoulder activated, lift those hips up off the mat. engaging your glutes and inner thighs, and then slowly set your hips back down. So your top leg is really not touching the mat. It's resting on your bottom leg. And then if you'd like a little extra challenge, optional to add those hand weights here. Once you've got your hips off the mat, hold that position, adding in a clamshell. So this is external rotation of your top thigh, opening your knee and closing your knee. My feet are staying together for this one today. Think about a straight line from the top of your head to your tailbone here. This is working some really deep muscles in your hip. And if this version's a little too intense with your hips off the mat, you can also do this with your hips on the mat, or even lying your head and shoulders all the way down on the mat. Doing a little combination here, lift your hips up, arm is up to the sky, and then externally rotate your leg, tap your thigh, internally rotate to parallel, lower your hips down. And for a little extra challenge, as you lower your hips, your arm reaches forward. So now you're going to get a lot of work in both shoulders and both hips. Should be feeling that entire bottom side of your body working here. Now hold that position up. Let's thread the needle like we did earlier. Scooping your abdominals in, top arm reaches in front of your chest, turn your ribs towards the floor. And then reach that top arm back up to the sky. Try to square your shoulders and hips off. Optional for extra challenge, lift that top leg up and hold it in the air. Even more challenging, straighten that leg out. If you've got your chair handy, can you keep it up above that chair? All right, we did it. Let's take a release. So sitting up into a mermaid position. Side stretch away from the bottom side that you were just working, and it will open up all those muscles that we just strengthened on the bottom side. Let's be sure to go both ways. We'll do this a couple times in each direction. Enjoying some nice deep breaths. And then turning towards your chair. We're going to use your chair to work your abdominals today. We won't use it the whole time, but we will use it for some. And it's always optional if you're not liking the chair. So feet start underneath the chair or just in front of it. Sit up tall. Optional to add those hand weights. Start by tucking your tailbone, drawing your abdominals in deep towards your low back to roll about halfway down towards the mat. And then think of curling your ribs towards your hips to sit all the way back up, trying to sit as tall as possible. Now, anytime you do a roll up from the mat, it might help to keep your knees bent. Adding in some little pulses here. So you find that challenging point and then lift your ribs up an inch and roll them back an inch. Every breath out, we're trying to feel that deep transversus abdominis tightening like a belt around your waist. And let's pump our arms like our 100. So find again that challenge point as the arms pump up and down 1 inch. Adding a little coordination, can you pump and open the arms for about 4 or 5 breaths? And then close the arms. For even more challenge, lift those arms up a little bit higher. You'll feel your abdominals get more load. And then the goal here is to really keep your torso as steady as you possibly can. So you can see I'm moving forward and backward in my torso just a tiny bit. That is about normal, but try not to move much more than that. Now holding your arms up, let's lift one leg up to tap your chair, other leg up to tap the chair. First leg down to the mat and second leg down to the mat. So this is going to start adding in some challenge for those hip flexors. Keeping both feet up if possible. Can you tuck that tailbone, roll all the way down onto the mat with control. Once you're on the mat, bring your feet up on top of your chair, straighten your legs out. We're going to try a full roll up. So arms reach up to the sky. Curl your chin towards your chest. Reach towards your toes and use your abdominals to roll all the way up to seated into that teaser position. At the top, can you lift your arms up towards the sky if you want a little bit more challenge? And maybe you lift one leg an inch off the chair to add some more challenge there. So be sure to alternate sides if you're adding that leg lift. You can absolutely keep your legs on the chair. And if you find yourself getting stuck, your chair might be too high or too close to you. So it's also fine if you want to take your feet off the chair here. Your goal is to make this as smooth as possible, but know that if your back is a little tight, you might feel yourself get stuck in that area. If that's happening, you can grab behind your thighs. Give yourself a little bit of assistance through those areas that you're getting stuck. And for even more challenge, try to keep your arms up to the sky when you're rolling up and rolling down. Once you're even on both sides, if you're adding those leg lifts, take a break. Hug your knees into your chest, shake out those legs. Let's take a release here. Let your legs bend and just drop them over to one side. Opposite arm is reaching in the opposite direction. Same arm is just gently pressing that top thigh towards the mat to help release through the low back into that deep psoas. All right, let's work your abdominals a little bit more. So resting your feet on top of the chair again. I'm just doing some pelvic rocks now on your back. So as you breathe out, barely tipping that pubic bone up towards the sky, drawing your lower abdominals in, and then slowly returning to your neutral pelvis where you feel just a tiny space under your low back, just enough for a blueberry. For a little more challenge here, you can add one of your weights in between your knees. Let's take your hands behind your head and start to do some sit-ups. So just curling from the top of the head to about the bottom of the shoulder blades off the mat, while trying to keep the lower part of your torso steady. So tailbone stays where it is, low back stays where it is. Keep breathing. The next time you curl up, take a pulse, curling up 1 inch and down 1 inch. Every breath out, activating that pelvic floor, those muscles at the very bottom of your pelvis. It's the base of your core. Now can you lower both thighs down 1 inch? You might even tap your chair and then really find those deep low abs to lift your legs back up. Now it's also okay to reach your arms by your side here. That might help you curl up a little bit higher, but if your neck is feeling kind of tired today, hands go behind the head. Now I'm placing my fingers where my deep psoas is, so it's about midway between your hip bone and your belly button. You might just look at that area and see if you can focus both sides to get that deep psoas activated. And let's do our 100 here. So holding and pumping those arms, breathing in for about 4 pumps and out for about 4 pumps. For even more challenge, straightening those legs out. They might stay out or you bring them back in for 4 pumps. Now, if you're holding something a little wobbly in between your knees, it's going to let you see if you're straightening one leg before the other. See if you can straighten them at the exact same time. Getting a nice inner thigh connection by holding something in between those legs. Keep on breathing. And then let's relax. Go ahead and lower your head and shoulders back down to the mat. Let's work your obliques here with some rotation. So one hand behind the head, opposite hand holding your weight. Reach it past your thigh as you twist your rib to your opposite hip. You're doing your best to keep your lower body really steady. If you need a little break, set your feet back onto your chair. For more challenge, keep those legs in the air. You could even do this with one or both legs straight to add a little bit more challenge. Now let's twist and hold and crunch Working a little bit of endurance here, 1 inch up, 1 inch down, breathing it out, resting your head into your hand. Now hold that and straighten one leg out and bring it back into tabletop. Check if you have lost that curl up through the head and chest. Can you deepen that curl up towards your thigh? Now hold that leg straight. Can you straighten both legs out and lift the leg closest to your arm up and slowly lower it back down to the chair? You've always got the option to rest the other leg on the chair or keep it up for the most challenge. All right, we did it. Let's get ready to do the other side. Take a quick break, shake out those legs. Now again, if your neck is tired, use one arm for support. Place it behind your head and start to reach your arm past your opposite thigh. It's really about your ribs spiraling towards the opposite hip while you steady through your lower body. Sometimes that lower body stabilization is the hardest part. Every breath out, tightening that belt around your waist. Now let's hold the curl up and pulse. Up 1 inch, down 1 inch. Feeling those oblique abdominals activating from rib to hip. Wrapping all the way around the waist. Now curl up and we're going to hold that curl, straightening your opposite leg out and bring it back to tabletop. So working a little endurance by holding that twist and curl through the upper body. Checking yourself that you're not sinking back onto the mat, but trying to stay curled up as high as possible. All right, now keeping that leg straight, other leg straightens out and lifts up to the sky and down to your chair. Can we find that deep psoas again, really pulling in deep, halfway between your belly button and your hip bone. We want that psoas to be strong, but also really flexible. All right, we did it. Take a break again. Shake out those legs. We're almost there. All right, hands behind the head. Let's curl the head and shoulders up and hold. Both legs are straight up to the sky. And then we just lower your legs down away from you, drawing your abdominals in, and lift your legs back up. Always got that option to reach the arms by the sides. That's actually a little less challenging for your abdominals. But if your neck needs support, it's better to take those hands behind the head. We are almost there. Can you curl up just a tiny bit higher? Reaching your bottom rib towards your hip bones. And then relax. That one is really heavy for those abs. So if it ever hurts your back, you might just be taking your legs a little bit too low. Even if they lower down 1 inch, you're going to strengthen those abs. Now meet me back with the legs at tabletop. Arms reach up to the sky all the way overhead. They go back up to the sky. We're going to try our full teaser roll up. So see if you can keep your legs up above your chair this time at tabletop. Curling the chin towards the chest, using those upper abs, middle abs, and then lower abs. At the top, to add challenge, arms lift up to the sky. You can lower them back down as you roll down to the mat. For more challenge, legs are straight. My first attempt, you see me get a little bit stuck, so that's okay. My back was definitely feeling a little bit tight on this day. And again, if you want to rest your legs on your chair, that can actually be a really great way to take some of the work out of your hip flexors and really feel your abdominals more. So arms reach out to the side, down to your hips, and then reach towards your chair as you curl your chin and chest off the mat. And then can you just hold at the top for a breath before you relax? All right, let's work that side body on the other side. So we'll take our mermaid stretch. Be sure to turn the other way, reaching up and over. See if you can really anchor your hips down as much as possible. That will increase the release that you feel on the side of the body, through the ribs, under your armpit, and even into your hips. All right, and then coming back onto your elbow, both knees are bent. Find that straight line from head to tailbone. Start by really sinking down towards the mat. Let your shoulders slide up to your ear a little bit. And then imagine you're pushing the floor away from you as your ribs and hip lift off away from the floor. You're trying to feel those muscles under your shoulder blades. Once you've activated them, start to lift your hips up and then slowly set your hips down. So optional to reach the top arm up to the sky, optional to add a weight. Try to stack your supporting elbow directly under your shoulder. And keep moving that breath through your body. You might notice I tend to leave my pinkies kind of off of my weights. It's just a good reminder to not grip too much or unnecessarily grip onto whatever you're holding on to. Now keeping those hips in the air, adding our clamshell. So hips are high, externally rotating your top leg. Feet are pretty much together on this one. Feeling that length from the top of your head to your tailbone throughout this movement. Going into our combo, hips lower down, lift up, clamshell, lower, back down to the mat. Now adding your arm when you're ready, lift the hips up, lower your arm as you clamshell, tap your thigh, arm up to the sky as you close your legs. Lower your hips, arm reaches forward. If that just like blows your mind today, leave your arm work out of it. Just focus on the lower body. It's really a coordination challenge here as we work the whole body together. And then moving into our thread the needle. So keeping the hips up, turn your chest towards the floor. Stay lifted through those ribs so that we don't sink down towards the mat. And then square your shoulders and hips back off to that side wall, top arm up to the sky. For that extra challenge, top leg lifts off the mat the whole time. And for even more challenge, can you straighten it out all the way? All right, we get another nice side body release here. Enjoy that mermaid stretch, reaching up and over to release all the muscles through the ribs, under the armpit, the sides of the hips, and just keep breathing really deeply. All right, turning towards the mat, let's come into hands and knees position. Walk one foot back and then the other foot back until you are in a plank. Shoulders over hands, heels reaching back, and start to slowly twist your hips one way and then the other way. Think about feeling your oblique abdominals here. So right inside your hip bones are your internal obliques. See if you can feel them activating. And when you're ready, start to speed this up, going for control as you twist side to side, rather than just using momentum to send your body weight too far in one direction. And then setting both knees down, take another child's pose, sitting your hips back. Arms can either reach forward or back, whatever feels best. And a little release through the low back. Draw your low abdominals in, rolling up about halfway. And then lengthen back out, chest to your thighs. Take some deep breaths here. And then return to that plank. Starting to tap opposite hand to opposite shoulder now. This is going to be a little bit easier with your feet about shoulder distance apart or even wider. More challenging the narrower you take your feet together. Keep alternating. Think about your ribs lifting up into your shoulder blades. And once you're even on both sides, take a quick break with your downward dog. Pike your hips. Shift some weight back into your legs. Enjoy that nice length, and then walk your hands towards your feet. You can bend your knees. Let's find your weights if you're going to add some extra challenge here. One weight in each hand or wrist weights on. Let's take a nice fold forward. Knees can bend. Leaning over to one side and then the other, bending one knee, straightening the other. And then meeting back in the middle to stand all the way back up. Let's do some deadlifts here. Arms are straight, knees are almost straight, and you're trying to lean forward with your back as straight as possible. Now think about sending your butt backwards so that most of your body weight is in your heels. The most important thing here is to look for that neutral spine. So you're trying not to round your back. So it's not so much about how low you go, but how straight your back is. For a little bit more challenge, lift those arms up as you stand up. And know that that's going to add some load to your back. So if it ever hurts your back, you want to bring those weights or your hands closer to your chest. Next time you lean forward, hold it there and just lift your torso up an inch and lean it back down an inch. Little pulses in that hip hinge. Now slow that down. Go halfway up and then back down. And again, only going as low as you can keep your entire back straight. For even more challenge here, reach those arms out in front of you. And again, if that hurts your back, you want to lower them back down a little bit. So I'm thinking of my torso being like a door and it's hinging at my hip socket. The next time you lean forward, hold it there with straight arms. Open your arms out to the side and then slowly close those arms. My knees are again just barely bent, abs pulling in, chest wide. And then open your arms and hold them there. Start to draw small circles, just about the size of an orange. For more challenge, you've got that optional heel lift. Circle the other way. Can you draw those abs in a little bit deeper? Relax your neck a little bit more, and then set those heels down, stand all the way back up. Big stretch up overhead. Circle the arms out to the side, fold forward, drop your weights, and let's walk out into another plank. This time my feet are really wide. Slowly twist one way. Push your hand on the mat into the mat even more as the opposite arm reaches up to the sky. Think of your arms stretching in opposite directions. So we did that really small hip twist earlier. You're going to rotate your hips all the way to the side on this one. Try to square off your shoulders and hips to one wall and then to the other wall. Once you're even on both sides, take a downward dog. Pike your hips, as much weight into your legs as possible to give your shoulders a break. And then walking your hands back to your feet, you can bend those knees and slowly roll all the way up to standing. We are going to do some plank work using your chair. My hands always get a little sweaty, so I'm going to grab a towel to place on top of the chair. And then it's optional to use one of your hand weights here as well. So if you are going to use that, set it somewhere that it's easy to grab. And then standing right in front of the chair, arms reach all the way up overhead. Little dive forward to grab the sides of the chair, and then walk your feet back till you're in a plank. Let's focus on your shoulder blades. They squeeze together, elbows stay straight, and then really slide your shoulder blades as far apart as possible, like your ribs are going to puff up to the sky. Do that a few times and then kind of meet in the middle of those two movements. Hold your shoulder blades steady as you bend your elbows for a push-up and straighten your elbows. So mine are pretty small because if I go much bigger than that, I'm going to move my shoulder blades too much. After a few push-ups, elbows straight, lift one leg and then the other leg. This is going to work your butt. Think about lifting your thigh and squeezing that little smile line where your low butt meets your high hamstring. Abs stay lifted, otherwise you'll sink in your low back. Now lift one leg up and hold. Tap that toe down, lift it back up, working that glute, a little bit of endurance on the same side. When you've done about 8 to 10, switch sides. Check in with your breath. Take a quick break. Like that downward dog, pike your hips, shift your weight back into your legs, enjoy a nice stretch under the armpits, and then come right back into that plank. Just hold and breathe for a second, and then we're going to slowly walk your feet over to one side of your chair. So you step side and then together until you're almost directly on the side of the chair. Now doing a little mountain climber here. Bring one knee towards your same elbow, other foot stays on the mat. This should be your knee that is closest to the front edge of your chair. Do that about 6 to 8 times. The next time you bring your knee forward, find a lunge. Step that foot right in front of the front side of your chair. Back leg straight. Bend your front knee, stack it right on top of your ankle. And let's do that torso hinge that we did earlier in your deadlift. So your entire torso leans forward from your hip socket, and then it lifts back up. Back heel is off the mat here. Front heel can stay down, or for more challenge, you can lift it up. And then some arm options. You can hold that chair for a little bit more support. To add some challenge, take your hands off the chair, prayer pose in front of the chest. More challenging, hands behind the head, hands out in front of you, or even add your weights. Now let's lean forward and hold and add a heel lift on that front heel. Lift it up and lower it down. You've got about 8 of those. Now you can choose heel up or down. Straighten your front leg, torso comes to vertical. Bend the front knee, lean forward. When you're ready to add some arms, they reach up in front of your shoulders as you stand up. Reach them back behind you as you lean forward. Feel those triceps on the back side of your arm. Now after about 5 of those, lean forward and hold and press your back side of your arm up to the sky. Elbows are straight. Think pinky finger up to the ceiling. For more challenge, front heel is lifted. Now can you keep that front heel up and stand all the way up? Both knees straight, torso vertical, arms reach up overhead. Let's bend both knees. Now your torso goes straight down to the floor, and you might add an overhead tricep press. Both elbows bend, reach your hands behind your head. Standing back up, hands reach up to the sky. Now you can do this with your front heel on the mat if you're feeling really unstable. You can even just stand next to the wall or turn your chair around and hold the back of your chair. Now can you squat down, both knees bent, and just do some faster overhead tricep press ups. A lot of endurance for the legs here. Check in that the front of those ribs are as closed as possible. And then circle your arms out to the side, set the weights down, grab onto your chair, lean forward until you're fully standing on that front leg. Back leg off the mat. Lower the back leg to tap the floor and lift it back up. So now we're balancing on that front leg. Your goal is to square your shoulders and hips to the mat. Check in with that back hip. It tends to want to rotate open to the sky. See if you can keep it square to the floor. Now keep that leg lifted. The back leg is pulsing up an inch, down an inch. And I'm holding onto the chair here for more challenge. Try to let go. And then with control, lower that back leg down. Hands go to the chair. Both feet come back till you're in that plank again. Let's again walk your feet side together, all the way around to the opposite side of the chair. We're back to that mountain climber. Bring your knee to the same elbow. So this should now be the opposite leg that was forward before. The leg that is opposite of your chair so that you can step it forward. Find that lunge after you've done about 6 mountain climbers, 6 to 8. Check in that that kneecap is right over the second and third toe. Try to stack your knee over your ankle. And we start with our torso hinge. So we're going for a neutral spine, straight line head to tailbone. And then from that hip crease in the front of your hip, you're leaning forward right from that crease, like you're closing a door towards the front of your thigh. And then try to create some more space from the front of that thigh to your torso. So options for more challenge: hands off the chair, little harder hands behind the head, even harder hands out in front of you, adding weights even harder. Choose where you want those arms as you add your front heel, lifting and lowering. You can always add challenge by sinking your hips a little deeper and leaning your torso forward a little bit more. Now try to keep your front heel up as you do little pulses. The torso lifts up an inch and back down an inch. It's small. You're already getting an awareness of the squareness through the shoulders and hips. Now front knees straighten, stand all the way up, vertical through the torso, head to tail, arms reach up to the sky, straight out in front of you, and they try to reach behind your body. Feel your collarbone widen. Embrace the wobble here. Remember, you can always hold on to that chair. The next time you lean forward, hold it and reach those arms up an inch, down an inch. Little pulses for those triceps. Optional to lift the front heel at any time for more challenge. Think belly button in, rib cage closed in the front. Take a quick break. Stand all the way up. Arms reach overhead. Now both knees bend. Torso goes straight down towards the floor, and you might add that overhead tricep press. For more challenge, the front heel is lifted. Back heel stays lifted through this whole series. Notice that my arms are staying a little bit in front of my ears. That is going to help me close the front of my ribs a little bit better. And then can you bend both knees, hold, and little pulses through those arms. Breathing, balancing, trying to feel some heat in your body. And then let's get rid of those weights. One hand on the chair if needed. Push off the back leg until you can lift it off the mat. Front knee stays a little bit bent as you lower and lift that back leg. And my butt is definitely burning at this point, so I kept one hand on the chair. You're trying to square off your shoulders and hips to the mat the whole time. Let's pulse that back leg up 1 inch, down 1 inch, working those glutes and hamstrings on the back of the leg. Check in with your abs. They are actively lifting to support your low back. And we did it. So quick stretch if you need to, if that booty's really yelling at you. Let's take another plank, this time square off to the chair. Hands grab the sides again like we did earlier. Faster mountain climbers now. So one knee pulls into the chest and then switch. I'm doing an actual jump from one leg to the other, but you can take it a little slower if you like, if that's better for your body today. This is going to really get the heart rate up. Keep on breathing and feel your head staying in the center of your shoulders and chest. Avoid letting it drop. All right, let's take that release like a downward dog. Shift your weight back into your legs, hips pike. Enjoy a nice release for the back side of the arms, under the armpits. And then unrolling your spine into that plank. So you lift your abs so much that your back rounds up towards the sky. Look at your thighs as you do that. Feel your hips start to lower and your spine unrolls till you're in that plank. Now bend your knees as you shift your hips back and up again. You're trying to move through every bone in your spine one at a time. Let's do that a few more times. Keeping a little space from your chin to your chest each time you unravel. And then let's step one leg forward into a big lunge. This is going to be a stretch. So start by lifting up to the sky. Same arm as back leg reaches up to the ceiling. This will help release your hip flexor on that back leg. And then grab your chair with the opposite arm, take a side bend, and then even a twist towards that front leg. All of that's going to release the low back, your lats. When you're ready, step forward onto that front leg. Let's take a quad stretch. So the back knee bends. Reach back to hold onto your foot. And some little details here. Think about bringing your inner thighs together as much as you can. Tucking your tailbone. So pubic bone is reaching forward. You're basically trying to flatten out the front of those hips as much as possible. Be sure to do the other quad stretch, and then once you're done with that, that back leg will step back into the lunge. Start by reaching the same arm as back leg up to the sky. Then take a side bend. Grab that chair and turn towards the front leg. This will release that low back. Keeping that twist, just bend the back leg, sit all the way down on the mat, and take a nice twist towards your top leg. Couple deep breaths and then twist the other way. And this will help release those glutes that we worked really hard today. When you're ready, take a nice fold forward as much as you can. And if your muscles start to release a little bit more, feel free to go a little further. You've got options of kind of stacking ankle over opposite knee, or to take it even further, see if you can actually cross your knees right on top of each other. That might not be possible for everybody's hips, knees, back. Everyone's a little different. Let's switch legs, twisting towards the top leg first. Then the other way. Couple deep breaths. And then folding forward, allowing those hips to relax, to take it a little further. Think feet getting pulled in opposite directions as you try to stack your knees on top of each other. Both legs reach out in front of you, arms up to the sky. Fold forward over the legs. Let's do a little spinal extension. Lift your chest up towards the ceiling, look up towards the sky, and then fold forward again. Do that a couple of times. And maybe flex the foot, grab onto the bottom of the foot, bend and straighten that knee. Help release through the backside of your legs and hips. Be sure to do both sides. One last fold forward. Roll up to seated, and you are done.